Hi friends, Dorian Dreams here with a video that's a bit of a departure from my normal content. I wanted to talk about disability and being disabled, especially with invisible illnesses. So I struggle with spondylolisthesis, as well as COPD caused by severe GERD and asthma. um, sorry, I have notes. I'm so sorry. I also have bladder incontinence, autism and ADHD, and a whole host of mental illnesses that, like, it's just easier not to get into, honestly. Just easier not to get into all that. So, when people look at me, they typically don't see disability. Um, like I've had doctors, even when they look at my medical record, to be like, "Oh, you're too young to have all of this," or you look too healthy," blah 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 blah. Just like, okay, I'm almost 30 at this point. Yeah, that's still fairly young, but I've been disabled since I was a kid and teenager. Because, like, obviously, the autism and ADHD I've had my whole life, and the spondylolisthesis, it started probably around mid high school, and the traumatic brain injury, I suffered that when I was in, I believe, fifth grade. I'd gotten kicked in the head by a horse, and I was not taken to the hospital until the day after. And since we kind of lived in a more rural area, that I don't want to call it racist per se, but it was definitely prejudiced. And so I didn't really get the treatment I needed. They just put me on antibiotics, and that was kind of the end of it. Never mind the fact that, like, my personality basically switched like a light, and I just couldn't remember things as well, couldn't speak as well, all of that kind of stuff. Start struggling even harder in school, and no one kind of cared or thought about it. And I also have bladder incontinence that I've had since childhood. They kept saying, "Oh, sugar out of it," or blah 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 blah. It's just stuck, but it's been a lifelong thing. And to their credit, Children's Hospital, they tried really hard to figure out what was going on, and I'm still not 100% sure what they decided on, because I'll just say that I don't have access to a lot of stuff from when I was a child, due to just, I won't even get into it. Just, it's familiar stuff, family stuff, and I don't want to get into all of that, because that's not what this video is about. So it actually is very damaging when people say, I don't look disabled, or I'm too young to be disabled, or anything like that, because it creates this mindset that either I'm faking my disabilities completely, or they're not as severe, or I'm and then I'm in some ways not being truthful and forthcoming with what I'm struggling with. And I actually have more disabilities, that, like, I have, like, an autoimmune disorder, well, two as well. And it's just easier not to talk about a lot of the stuff that I struggle with, because of how I get treated when I bring it up. Because even people in my regular life outside the medical field act as though, I couldn't be suffering for all of this, or I must be lying, or things of that nature. Like, even people that I've known who themselves are chronically ill or have something that's going on, um, they've acted as though, either my stuff doesn't matter as much, or, I'm just lying about it. I don't really know where I was going with this. I guess just like, let's just not judge people for, like, if people say, I have this thing, and like the doctor said I have this, or, I've been diagnosed with this, or like even sometimes self-diagnosis can be valid, because for a long time I had to self-diagnose, but I did, a lot of research, and then, I did go to my doctors and my psychiatrist and all of that stuff, and I did get diagnosed with exactly what I'd been thinking I had. Like, every time I was correct in my assumption of what I had. I haven't been wrong yet. But anyways, let's just not judge people, and also, like, let's not judge people for whatever coping mechanisms they use, or whatever kind of like disability aids they use, because like I'm a regressor, and I use diapers, and there's a pocket of regressors who feel like it's not appropriate to use diapers because of their connection to like the ABDL community and stuff. And the things like, I have been wearing diapers, well, pull-ups, I wear pull-ups, but I have been wearing pull-ups since, I was a child into teenagehood into adulthood. And here I am, almost 30, and I'm still, wearing pull-ups. I don't have to wear them all the time, mostly when I sleep or have like a really bad pain day, to wear like my bladder, because like the more pain I'm in, kind of the more likely my bladder is to just whoosh, release for no reason. So I definitely, will wear pull-ups to feel more comfortable and confident, especially if I'm like sitting on furniture or have to go out in public or whatever, or like at someone else's house. Because for me, it just is that added protection, I suppose. And I'm also, we're starting to slip. There we go. And I am also, well, as you all know, I'm a regressor, and that has a huge amount to do with the fact, with my autism, with my disabilities, with the fact that I didn't have an ideal childhood. There are a lot of people who will say, oh, your childhood was great or whatever, but at the end of the day, I decide how my childhood affected me. Well, my brain does, really. But, my brain says, I'm traumatized, so I'm traumatized. Like, that's just kind of how it works. It doesn't matter how picturesque someone's childhood looks. There are some traumas that you can't see. Or there are some traumas that, like, some people wouldn't read as trauma. But that doesn't mean it's not traumatizing. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I wanted to say. Like, invisible illnesses are real. Believe people when they say this hurts, that hurts, this is what's going on with me. Like, even if it's self-diagnosis, because generally people who self-diagnose do the research. I'm not saying there aren't people who, don't do the research and who just, decide to watch a few TikToks and run with it. I'm not like that, because like literally when I was growing up there was no TikTok, and I'm not even on TikTok anymore. I was on TikTok very briefly, but it's no longer a platform that I like or feel comfortable on. And I do appreciate TikTok for what it's done, because like I did, learn a lot from watching like the political TikToks and like disability activist TikToks and everything. But ultimately, TikTok was not good for my mental health, so I deleted my account and left. I probably have some other accounts floating around attached to old emails of mine that I no longer have access to. So if you find them, I'm sorry. Like, um, but yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. Just believe people if they say they're hurting, if they say they're traumatized, and like obviously believe with evidence, like, but also like sometimes there's not evidence. So just people generally know what's going on with their own body, so just believe people. Just don't. I don't know. It's hurtful when people act like they know more about your body than you do. So like don't be one of those people. Come on, like let's just be more understanding and caring for others. All right, bye friends.